That's right, because that's the antidote to fear is just doing it.
That's right.
And learning. And, if you
Doing it imperfect, and then you get better.
That's it. Doing it imperfectly, because if not, you're stuck in fear in the same place your entire life. And
That's right.
you stagnate and you start sliding behind.
Yeah.
You don't move forward.
Welcome to VoiceRise Conversations. I am so excited that you're with us today. And I want to welcome a dear friend of mine, Alexis Arnold, co-founder and CEO of the Inside Out Foundation. How are you doing today?
I'm great. It's an awesome day so far. How about you?
Oh yes, most definitely. Every day is a good day.
Yes,
to be alive.
That we're above the ground and Christ is King. And,
Amen.
And we're getting some good weather here lately, so
we are.
That helps our mood too.
Definitely so. It's a little windy today, but
it is.
We're in West Texas, so
yes,
that's to be expected.
Absolutely.
But I love springtime, and I love your backdrop here. We're at their place doing this today, and the reason why we're doing this, Alexis is my very first person to do this with, and I chose you because you have been such an inspiration to me, and I know to so many other women with your story of your life. And of course, there's so many things I still don't know about you, but I do want to talk to you about how this all came about with the Inside Out Foundation. Tell people who might not know what the Inside Out Foundation is all about.
Of course. So we are here at the Inside Out Foundation. This is one of our awesome fitting rooms that we have here, and it's got this beautiful backdrop, and this really represents, I feel like, our mission, how we grow into clients' lives, how we're able to help them bloom.
Yes.
And I just love the transformation that happens here. So in case you don't know, as a viewer or as a listener, Inside Out Foundation was founded by myself and my two co-founders, Karla and Adair Murillo. And what we did 14 years ago now, if you can believe it, this summer we turned 14.
That's
We're officially a full-blown teenager.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So what we did 14 years ago is we just really saw the need in our community for those who were not being serviced during or after traumatic events.
Yes.
And so the primary people that we help is cancer patients and survivors, but we also help lots of other people like burn survivors or those who have been affected by really bad accidents of any kind.
Right.
Believe it or not, we've seen dog bites in adults and children, just things like that on their face, on their neck that really impact their life.
Yes.
And just really affect their overall healing through that whole process and thereafter. So we help people who are suffering from things like COVID hair loss or medically induced hair loss from thyroid conditions we've been seeing a lot of in the last several years. And of course, COVID hair loss.
Yes.
We see mostly cancer patients and survivors. We do specialize in mastectomy, everything.
Yes.
So we, Karla and myself, are trained breast form and mastectomy bra fitters. And the first of everything here, mastectomy, wigs, skincare, is no cost to the client.
That's wonderful.
Yes,
it's amazing.
It is. And the client can come in and get, wigs and hair loss, products and services, and then they can come back later as needed and also get mastectomy products and services and skincare services. They can get everything at the first of everything at no cost. Yeah.
Wow.
And so that's our mission. That's what we do. Obviously, it lends us primarily toward women.
Yes.
But we help men and kids as well.
Okay.
So that's really important for people to know. In fact, we're the only, that we know of, we're the only supplier of pediatric oncology, which means children's cancer wigs at no cost to them.
Oh, that makes me just want to cry.
I know.
When I think about that. And
I
can't thank y'all enough for what y'all do for this entire area. How did you decide to start the Inside Out Foundation? Because I think people would love to hear that story.
Of course. So we get this question a lot.
Sure.
The three of us do. Like, how did you start this? Why did you start this? Well, primarily we started Inside Out Foundation, or IOF for short, because of God.
I love that.
I know that sounds so cliche, but just hear me out. So we started with wigs initially.
Right.
And it was actually like a direct marketing situation. And we were just doing it for fun and, just to add to our incomes and such. But we had no idea what God had planned for us. And once we saw the need for wigs and how much hair loss there was in our community, like God just illuminated us. And once we saw it, we could not unsee it. I mean,
Wow.
it was everywhere. You know how I always equate it to, it's actually come to know years later. It's the reticular activating system in our brain. So
Say that 5 times fast.
I know, the RAS. So the RAS for
Yes,
short
yes.
in our brain is a very powerful tool. And what happens with the RAS, everyone can relate to this. Have you ever gone shopping for a new dress? A new car is really common, or a car that's new to you, say.
You see it everywhere.
You see it everywhere,
Yes.
and you're not paying attention to it before, but then you see it everywhere.
Oh, yes.
That's the RAS. And
Okay.
so our RAS kicked in really hard and fast when we were doing wigs. And so God used that, and we had so much of an influx in people saying how much they needed the wigs and wanted the wigs, that we realized that that was a product and a service that wasn't being fulfilled to the level that we thought it was.
Right.
You just assume that this nonprofit and that nonprofit and this
Yes.
church and that church is fulfilling this. But there was such a need in Lubbock County and the surrounding counties that that need was not being serviced in the ways that we expected. So that was a huge deal. And once we realized that that need was so big, then we had to fill it. And
You didn't have a choice anymore.
no, we did not. We could not unsee it. And it was just everywhere.
Wow, that is
Everywhere.
amazing. It's funny how God will do that. He makes sure, and He shows you more than once. I'm reinforcing what you need to see right now.
Yes.
And you can, you have a choice. He gives us a choice. I mean, we can either step through that door or we can say no. But He'll keep chasing after us until we finally say yes.
It's true.
And we surrender.
It's true.
Yes.
It's so true. And boy, did we ever. I mean, so we started with the wigs, right?
Yes.
And then, actually full credit to, at the time, the Susan G. Komen Foundation that used to be here. They had a particular employee who is still in Lubbock. She's no longer associated with them, but she saw the need and she contacted us and said, we've lost our fitter in this area. Would this be something that y'all would be willing to add to your service line? And we said unequivocally, yes, we will add this. And so we started all of the mastectomy products and services in year 2 of our existence. Awesome. And that was fully credited to Clarissa. So we really appreciate Clarissa for seeing that need and pairing the right entity with the need in the community. So
right.
That was a big deal. So we really appreciate her for doing that. And then, it just grew from there. Of course, both of my co-founders are licensed estheticians and makeup artists by trade.
Yes.
And so the skincare came in easily. And you might think skincare, oh, that sounds like a girl's spa day, but it's really not. It's primary for our clients that are going through chemo and radiation and burn therapy. And so they really have different skin needs, and sometimes their skin needs are not being met, and it causes interruptions in their healing patterns. And so that's where we can step in and kind of provide some products and services with extensive knowledge on my co-founder's behalf. And I've learned a little along the way, but I'm not a licensed esthetician, but...
Well, I think you do enough around here. Well, you probably don't need one more thing.
I don't. They can handle it. They are great at what they do.
It's no wonder your skin looks so wonderful, though.
Well, they got a hold of me, let's see, when I was 18.
Oh, wow.
I've known my co-founder since I was 18. And yes, one of them has been my esthetician the whole time. And if it's good enough for us, it's good enough for our clients.
That's it.
Certainly. So.
Well, you have so many testimonials from people who you have helped so much. And I've seen people on stage when you've had these different events who are literally, just the floodgate of tears.
Yeah.
Because you changed their life. And that's just such a wonderful thing. It's got to make you feel good to know that, you're a vessel in that way.
Absolutely. The three of us are very cognizant that God gave this to us for a reason, and we are to steward it well. We are to be good stewards of the, fundraising dollars that we receive, the donations that we receive, and that He's going to bless that, and He has. And because I always say, we're not a religious organization, technically.
Right.
We're not a Christian organization. We're not religious like a church, on paper with the IRS, but we three are believers in Christ. And so we think that what we do here is, quite literally, it's the hands and feet of Jesus.
I love that.
And He's using us to help the community in this way. And so it's just so great to be we really are like a fraction of these people's journees, but it's a fraction that matters.
It matters.
And so it's such a blessing.
Yes.
It really is. And that's why we have if people say we have endless energy to do what we do, we don't. We have limits. We have lives, we have families, we have all the things, but He just gives us that strength to renew because we're doing such important work, and we can't stop that.
I love it.
Did
you ever have a time, especially at the beginning, where you thought, were we really supposed to do this? Was there ever roadblocks that you were like, what in the world?
Oh my gosh, let me tell you. Okay, let me tell you something. There was a time where we were downstairs on the first floor, and we all used to share one office, and we had 2 service rooms. Now we each have our own offices, and we have 4 service rooms.
This is a beautiful place.
Thank you so much.
But you earned it.
Well, we did. Blood, sweat, and tears, let me tell you. And Karla designed the entire space. She's so gifted, as is Adair. But we were back to bare bones basic years and years ago, and I remember Karla and I literally were visiting in the office downstairs, the one that we shared, and we were looking at our financials as we did often, and we still do all the time. I mean, we're good stewards of our donations, but we were looking back then before we had established giving and all the things.
Right.
And we said, we have 1 month left to pay the rent and the essentials. What are we going to do?
Wow.
And we didn't know at first, and then we had a meeting with Adair. We pre-talked before we met with her a lot. Then we had a meeting with Adair, and we came up with a fundraising idea, and we implemented it, and it got us through another month. And then we did the same thing, and it got us through another month and another month. And we did, so the moral of that story, I always say, is we did the work, but then He kept blessing it. We did the work.
I keep getting chills.
But it's
and I'm
true.
fixing to start crying.
I know. It's so emotional to think about it. But when you look and you see that, you feel like your business is failing. I mean, because let me say it this way. The intention and the passion is there.
Right.
On the side of the staff and on the side of certainly the co-founders and the board of directors.
Right.
It's there.
Yeah.
The need is there.
Right.
People need help. And, there's a reason why nonprofits exist, because, and churches do this work and nonprofits do this work is because if we would all just take care of our own families and each other, we wouldn't have nonprofits. We wouldn't have the need for outreach for churches. We wouldn't have the need for, government assistance.
That's true.
But we live in a fallen world. And so that's just not the way that it is.
Right.
So we have to, certain members of us have to step up and do this professionally because that's our calling.
Right.
So all of this is there. The need, the heart and the passion, the ability to render the services, but you have to have money to make the train go.
Yes.
Right? And so when you have a mismatch of the need versus, how you facilitate that need, it's a huge gap. And any business owner knows what I'm talking about, even if it's a for-profit business.
Yes. Oh, definitely.
And for-profit businesses don't have some of the benefits that we have. People give out of their generosity to help others. If you don't have a product and service that hits people where they are and it's something that they must have and must need, good luck. You're not going to make any money.
Right.
So whereas a business can always make more money but a nonprofit has to survive on the generosity of people.
That's very true.
And so there's pros and cons of both. But
Right.
when you have this mismatch, you feel like you're failing, and it's deeply personal.
Yeah.
For any business owner, for anybody who started something, they know exactly what I'm talking
Oh,
about.
yes.
Or for someone who's taken over something, like a family business.
Right.
You know, and you have this legacy on your back. We didn't have any of that, but it's our business, even though it's a nonprofit. It's our business, and it's this need that we cannot stop giving to the community because the need keeps coming and keeps coming.
That's it.
So you have to
And he keeps providing.
That's right. But he doesn't often, he does do it when you don't deserve it, when you don't expect it, when you haven't worked for it. He does. But he often, my experience has been that he doesn't often do it without you working really, really, really hard first.
Right. He expects you to do your part, and then he does the rest.
Now, he does like swoop in sometimes.
Yeah.
When you need it.
Yeah.
And one of those stories of him swooping in when we needed it, before we knew anything about what we were doing really, is something that people may not know, is that when you're a nonprofit and you get established as such, as a 501c3 or whatever your designation is with the IRS,
Right.
you have to wait 1 full year before you can apply for grants or get any kind of like
Okay.
designated funding.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and so you
That's
have
a long time.
Yes, so you have to be independently funded before then, or
Oh,
you
wow.
have to wait to enact your mission until after you can
Right.
get the funding.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't know any of this when we started. We knew nothing. And I think it was better in a sense that way, because if we had truly known what we were up
I
against,
see your point.
we may have never taken that leap
Yeah.
of faith. So it was good. I always say I would like to go back and do things so differently.
Yeah.
You know, do like an endowment campaign or fundraise before we could start applying for grants, and like kind of plant those seeds. All of the things I would do now,
Right.
I wish we had done back then, but I know now because I learned the hard way then.
Yeah.
We learned the hard way then. And so it's very interesting to see like how your struggles shape you. You know,
Yes, for sure.
it's very true. But
And it increases your faith, you know.
of course, because you come to realize that you have more resiliency than you expect, and that you even thought you had in the tank, and that you have to have faith to be a nonprofit person. Faith in people, faith in mission, faith in God, or whatever your higher power is. For us, it's God. But one of those things that happened to us after we were a year old was we applied for seed funding, which is like a big initial startup grant type funding with the CH Foundation here locally. And I did not know anything about what I was doing about writing grants. I had attended a couple of grant workshops with the volunteer center, and they taught me a lot.
Right.
And I applied those things. But I looked back at that grant, it's been over 10 years ago. And I was like, this is terrible. Like, you know, because now I'm a professional grant writer.
Right.
And I know what I'm doing.
But it
and
proves you have to start somewhere. You just have
course.
to take action and do it, even if it's wrong.
That's right, because that's the antidote to fear, is just doing it.
That's right.
And learning. And, you know, if you...
Doing it imperfect, and then you get better.
That's it. Doing it imperfectly, because if not, you're stuck in fear in the same place your entire life. And
That's right.
you stagnate, and you start sliding behind.
Yeah.
You don't move forward. So I applied for this grant funding, and we got it, and it was $60,000.
Good job.
Which is, to date, the largest grant we've ever received.
Wow.
In one single
Yes.
sitting. And that started a wonderful partnership that we still have today with the CH Foundation.
And it wasn't done perfectly.
Oh, it was done so badly. So badly. But they saw the need.
They saw your heart, too.
They saw what we were trying to accomplish,
Yeah.
and they saw that we were the people to accomplish it.
I love that.
And they believed in us. And I'm telling you, without, you know, Adair, one of my co-founders, she planted her own seed of funding. Our first year, she gave about $10,000 of her own money.
Oh, wow.
Our first year.
Wow.
And we helped about 34 people our first year. But, just paying for rent and, paying for the products that we gave out and all that.
Yeah.
And all of us worked for free for many years, especially Karla, full time.
Oh, man.
And so we all sacrificed in different ways. But then the next year, that seed money comes in. And it was literally a lifesaver. And we would not be here without all of those pieces and many more. That I have so many stories.
I could talk to you for hours upon hours. And this is why I wanted her to be the first person that I talked to on VoiceRise Conversations, because if you have not been inspired today from this lady, then I can't give you any, content that would. Is as a parting words, is there anything that you would like to say to someone who may be struggling right now and feels like quitting?
Ooh, okay. I've been in this place many times.
Yeah.
Where I thought it was not for me anymore, or the mission had changed, because I felt like a failure or whatever hardship it was at the time. But if you feel like quitting and you feel like a failure, I want to encourage you to think about how you would talk to yourself if you were your best friend.
That's great.
Because we often don't do that.
Yeah.
And in my private practice coaching, I'm a holistic health coach.
And you're great at that too.
Thank you. I do this with my clients all the time. How would you talk to yourself if you were your best friend?
Yes.
Or perhaps for those of us that are parents, how would you talk to yourself if you were your child?
Oh, wow.
Thinking about it in that reframe is very powerful.
It is.
Because it gives you more objective perspective, I feel like.
Oh, yeah.
And also it gives you more compassion and kindness, because we're the hardest on ourselves out of almost anyone.
So true.
Usually we are the hardest on ourselves, unless we have an extremely critical parent or something like that. But that's a whole nother can of worms. So, it is.
Yes.
It is.
Oh, yes.
Those cause deep wounds that take a long time for us to heal from. But that shapes your inner voice.
It does.
And so if you feel like giving up and you feel like a failure, talk to yourself objectively as if you were someone that you loved, not yourself. And then also it gives you perspective of, do I love myself enough to talk myself through this properly? And that can be very illuminating.
Yeah.
And if you have a higher power like me that you pray to, maybe you've been praying for provision and this and that. Maybe consider changing your prayer. Maybe you're not praying for the right thing. Maybe he has answered your prayers, but you just don't want to hear it.
That's so true.
And so anyway, I just encourage people to change the narrative.
Yes.
And talk to yourself the way that you would talk to a loved one.
Yeah.
Who you really deeply love and respect. And that's really hard for some people, because some people don't have self-love.
Right.
And so it could be coming from you and not from the outside world.
Yeah.
And so that's very encouraging. I feel like it gives you a reframe to kind of springboard off of.
Yes.
And if you feel like quitting, I'm not going to do the stereotypical, don't quit, keep pushing on, because you know what, I've been in that place. And when people say things like that, it's just annoying and frustrating, because you feel like they don't understand.
Yeah.
And so if you're feeling like a failure, if you're feeling like quitting, I heard from Dr. Amy Shaw, who was here for one of our health seminars. She told me in the car, just us two, heading back to the airport after the event, she encouraged me and said, I always try to think of it, will this matter in 5 years? Will this thing matter in 10 years?
Right.
If it does, then I need to take my time and focus and find a resolution. If it won't, it doesn't earn my focus or my effort.
Yeah.
And so I think also that reframe helps us gain perspective, because we can get so deep in the ruminating of obstacles in life.
And also just tunnel vision.
Exactly, especially when you're trying to build something.
Yeah.
Trying to build a good human through raising children, trying to build a solid business that can last the sands of time.
Right.
It's all the same. It really is. All the fundamentals are the same for raising a family as they are for raising a business. It's very similar.
It really is.
It really is. And so, with all of that said, I wouldn't say to not quit and you've got this and all that. I would say talk to yourself like you are a loved one. And I would say, does this thing matter in 5 years? Does this thing matter in 10 years? And I would also say you have to love yourself enough to push yourself through whatever you're going through right now. And
wow.
That's the advice I would give.
That is fantastic advice. I hope that you'll take the advice from someone who's been there and done that and shown a very successful proof that it can be done. And we just want to thank you for what you do for so many women and for helping people who have watched this today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
I feel so honored to be your first.
Oh, I feel honored that you are my first. I want to give you a hug.
Thank you so much.
She's a dear friend of mine, Alexis
Yes.
Arnold, co-founder and CEO of the Inside Out Foundation, and as she said, also a wonderful holistic coach.
Thank you.
And a mother and a wife and a friend. So many wonderful things. So I hope that you have benefited from this. This has been VoiceRise Conversations, and I hope to see you next time. Thanks, Alexis.
Thank you.